Welcome everyone. I'm here today to discuss one of your items of assessment, this being the strategy proposal. It's going to be your first item due in across the unit. So let's get into a discussion about what it's all about. Okay, first of all, never forget the details. The details are very important. Always check WADL to make sure the details don't change. You never know. They could be subject to change for whatever reason. So always make sure you've got the correct details. Here we've got the item worth 10%. It's due at 8:59 AM precisely on March 16. So it's not too far into the course when it's due in. It's submitted online and it's individual only at this stage, and I don't think it's going to change. So it's up to you individually to complete this item. 500 to 1,000 words. So in other words, if you're writing less than 500, you're in trouble. If you're writing more than 1,000, I'll give you a 10% on top of that, so plus GST. All items in this course, we have a GST on them, so you can add 10% to the word count, but don't go over. This is very important for you to understand, that if you want your work back in a quick time frame or a good time frame, then I need time to mark it. If you write over the word limit, that means my marking deadlines get pushed out because you've all written more than what I've planned for, which means I can't plan to have it back to you in a reasonable time. So please be fair to me and stick to the word count. If you don't, then obviously your grade will suffer as well. So make sure you keep to that plus 10% factor. Okay, so let's get into what is required. First thing to look at is the personal goal for the subject. Now, this is a brief statement of what you want to achieve by studying this unit. It's a guiding statement for what outcomes you're seeking from the subject, your study strategy, and how much you want to engage in the assessment items. So I've got here 100 words, 150 words. So just be honest. Now, it's only me seeing the document. So I will see what you say and write in this document, but your fellow students will not. So just let me have a look at this and see exactly where you're coming from, what your mission statement is, as it were, or your vision statement is, as it were, for this item of assessment. So let me know your study strategy. Is it P, make degrees? Is it, look, I want to dedicate lots of time to this unit to maximize my grade as high as possible? Whatever the approach is, this is where you clearly and succinctly get into it and tell me what that is. Second part of what is required is the strategic analysis. Now, this entails a couple of components: the situation analysis and problems and opportunity statements. The word count is a rough guide. Now, all word counts are a guide, 100 to 200 words here. So the word count, though, for the item of assessment is fixed. Do not go over 1,000 words plus 10%. But for each of the segments or components, I'll be flexible. Some people might find they'll need to write more or want to write more, and some will need to write less. But that means you have to write more or less in other areas to make up for your word count. Okay, so situation analysis is exactly that. Think of yourself as a brand, and as any brand, what situation do you currently find yourself in, and what are the major environmental factors upon that situation? So, for example, do you work full-time? Do you have family commitments? Are you training for the Olympics? And yes, I've had people before who've trained for the Olympics. Or are you involved in a community organisation? Or for some people, they do all of that and much more. Everyone is different. This is the point of the unit, is me getting to know a bit more about you and how you are. So for my unique situation, I have a very young family, so on weekends I'd like to spend my time as much as possible with them and not with you guys. No offence to any of you, but it's infinitely more fulfilling for me and to spend time with my two boys than it is to get into emails and look at work. Work's for work time and plays for playtime. So for you, it could be as simple as saying what your circumstances are, which could impact upon your assessment. So for example, some people will finish a full day at work and then have to study, whereas other of you can sleep until maybe 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. Oh, the bliss. The bliss. And then, you know, flex the arms, have a nice brekkie, and then start studying. So it can be a little bit different for all of us. It's giving a background to that. It's like any organization or brand, you're basically identifying what could be the advantages and disadvantages of your environmental factors and situation upon you and your study. So that gets into problems and opportunities. So what opportunities do you think exist for each assessment item, and what problems exist? So each assessment item is going to be unique in what it's doing, what it's achieving, and the outlook on and the outcomes of each one, and the objectives of each item. So what other problems do you think could exist? For example, doing a group assignment. Now, group assignments in this unit are all optional. You don't need to do one with a group. So, but for some people, they do. And then, of course, they hit the situation of where one person doesn't pull their weight and doesn't put in the work and effort, leaving them to carry it and make up for that effort lost. So that could be a problem with doing a group assignment, but it's group optional. So it could be another item like the article critique where you've never done it before, you're uncertain of what to do, how to do it, it's your first time. It's a learning process. Don't see everything as an opportunity where you can expect to do as well as you want. It's all about expectation management for you as well as me. So manage your expectations as well in the unit. And it's identifying therefore what areas you think you may need to put more effort into because maybe there are items of assessment you've never done before. So this is the part of problems and opportunities. So an opportunity could also be a problem. So for example, it might be an issue to do an article critique, but also it's a great opportunity to learn how to do one of these in a safe environment here at university instead of perhaps in the workforce where your boss could ask you to do one of those things, and if you've never done one before, you could be in trouble. So this is the point about problems and opportunities in assessment items. Okay, so the third part relates specifically to one assessment item. This is the strategy development for your marketing plan. Now, the marketing plan is the single major item of assessment in this unit. It's worth the most marks. It's where you put the most effort into, but also the most reward. A lot of students tell me when they finish the course, it was the single most fulfilling thing they did in the unit was doing the marketing plan because it gave them so much understanding of the entire marketing process. Hence why it's due in at the end of the course. So the first thing you need to do here is tell me your marketing plan pitch. Which brand or which topic are you going to go after? So give an explanation of what the topic means and why you've chosen it, and clarify any sub-elements of the topic you believe would need explaining. So for example, you're doing a big brand option, then maybe you've got to focus it on to a certain area of that brand. So this is where you say to me why you've done that strategy and why you've undertaken it. That's 100 to 350 words. Okay, so second part of this is establishing the topic by addressing the following questions. So what you need to do now is really go into a lot more depth about the marketing plan topic you've chosen and why that is. So what is the context for this topic? So for someone doing the individual option, for example, they might want to say this is of personal context because they've always thought they'd like to do and run a small business. So they've chosen this topic specifically to do it on. Why the question is important? It could be that this is an important thing because of your own development as a person or career objectives or whatever it happens to be. Any prior work is anything you've done in marketing before. Maybe you've done other units already in programs here at ANU where you've covered entrepreneurship or business planning or marketing. So it could be something relevant to why you've chosen the topic you have. And what other resources are available? So in other words, maybe you're doing this topic because you work in the area or because you have interest in this area, you have access to more resources than perhaps doing another topic. So this is something you need to elaborate and explain on as well. What research is needed? Some of the topics, of course, have got more information available about them than others. So some topics will lend themselves to doing a lot of secondary research, and others, it's very much contextual and specific to the situation, like the individual ones or the startup options. So you really need to look at what sort of information is required and what sort of research is needed, and therefore when do you need to make a start, because some topics will need to have more research done on them than others, and that of course means a lot more time spent early on. So the structure is describe the nature of how the assignment is structured, report, essay, modern art, hopefully not modern art, being marketing. So what I need to hear is have your understanding of how you're going to structure and design the assessment. And now for the marketing plan, this is going to be really obvious because I've provided a rubric online on how you get marked and assessed. So it shouldn't be that difficult to have that structure there. But in this case, if you're doing a group option, this is where you need to tell me perhaps how you could break the work up, who might do what area, or even if you don't know the group members, you might have a vision in your head of how the work could be allocated and divided. So this is where you might specify that in this section. The final part is very, very important into then how you have access to discussion forums online relating to the major assignment. So whether you're doing the individual or the group pieces will be, you only have access to one, not the other. So you need to nominate this part here, whether you're doing the assignment by yourself or if you're doing it as part of a team. And if so, then even if you have any ideas of your team members, you don't need to have an idea of team members at this stage, but you do need to commit right now in this item of assessment to whether you're doing this item as an individual or as part of a group. Okay, hopefully that makes that bit clear. Okay, so strategy implementation. And this is the final part of what we're looking at for this item of assessment. So in other words, of how you answer the question. So you do any sort of project management here to make sure you're making achievables or objectives to break this big item of assessment down into smaller chunks to really tackle it more effectively. I recommend you do it like that. I recommend you do it week by week or every fortnight, because those people who leave it to the last week never do well on it. Those people who leave it to the last night usually fail. Most people who have done it in the past like that, they fail, maybe get a bare pass if they're very, very lucky and I'm feeling good about the world. So don't do it like that. This item of assessment has not been designed to complete the night before, the week before. You are meant to start on this item of assessment when this item of assessment is due in. So get your heads into it now, because that way it'll make the task a lot more enjoyable for everyone. Okay, so some other things points to consider here is metrics. So how you measure your progress to the due dates. You're going to have hard and fast metrics. What happens if someone in the group doesn't hit a metric? What do you have planned for that? Is it going to be a 3 strikes and you're out? Is it going to be something else? So this is where you need to really come up with ideas and metrics for how you might go through this item of assessment. And finally, timelines, linked into the previous 2 items, of course. How you're going to have your timelines. So you might do, as I said, Project Management 101 is work backwards from the due date and have targets along each the points of time to where you might hit it. Now, there's no work count in this item. I've left it blank because it's more you having an answer at this. So is this outside the word count? You might say it is. I haven't put it in on the word count at the moment, so it doesn't mean you can write forever. This section in my head is only 100 to 200 words. So you shouldn't write more than that, and that should complete this item of assessment. Hopefully you've understood what I'm looking for in this item. So it's really you thinking of yourself as a brand and how you're going to achieve this objective which has been set for you as a brand. So consider yourself very much a practitioner here, and right from that perspective as well. Okay, well that's it for me. Any questions, please send me an email or we might talk online, and have a good night, day, afternoon, or whatever. And I'll talk to you next time. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.